All right, think about this for a second. What if you found a roadmap of the future? A roadmap written hundreds of years before any of the events actually happened. Sounds pretty wild, right? Well, today, we're jumping headfirst into one of the most jaw-droppingly detailed prophecies you'll ever come across, right out of the book of Daniel. And believe me, this is way more than just some old historical text. This stuff really makes you think about, well, everything. We're going to break down the first 4 verses of Daniel chapter 11, written way back in the 6th century BC, and see just how shockingly well its predictions line up with actual, verifiable history.
So, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get our bearings with verse 1, which is like our prophetic briefing. Then, we'll look at what it says about the kings of Persia. After that, we'll see the rise of this mighty Greek king. And finally, what the text predicted would happen to his massive kingdom. Let's get into it.
Okay, section 1, a prophetic briefing. We're setting the stage all the way back in 539 BC. You see, with any prophecy, the first thing you have to lock down is when it was written. That's our starting line, and it's absolutely crucial.
And boom, right there in verse 1, the text tells us exactly when this is all happening. It says in the first year of Darius the Mede. This isn't some vague, once-upon-a-time story. It's anchoring itself to a very specific, very real moment in history, with a specific king. This is our timestamp.
So let's put a pin in that. The text itself claims it was written down in 539 BC. Seriously? Burn that date into your brain. Because everything that follows, all these wild predictions, they supposedly come from this point in time. It's the key to the whole thing. All right, next up, section 2, the kings of Persia. We're talking about 4 rulers and a war that changed everything. Now that we've got our starting date, let's look at the very first real prediction. The prophecy starts laying out the future of the Persian Empire. Okay, listen to how specific this gets. It says, "There shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia." Okay, 3 kings. But then it gets even more detailed. "And the 4th shall be far richer than they all." So this 4th guy is special. He's got money. And what does he do with it? He shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. So we're looking for 4 specific kings, with the last one being super rich and starting a huge war with Greece. So does history back this up? Well, take a look. After Cyrus, who was in power when this was written, who came next? You've got Cambyses, then a ruler mentioned in Ezra as Artaxerxes, and then Darius Hystaspes. 1, 2, 3. That's a perfect match for the first part of the prophecy. And that brings us to the 4th king. Who was he? None other than Xerxes. Now, remember what the prophecy said about him? That he'd be far richer than they all. And guess what Xerxes is famous for in the history books? You got it. His absolutely insane, unexhaustible wealth. It was legendary. So the prophecy says this rich king uses his money to stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And what did Xerxes do in 480 BC? He used his incredible riches to fund a massive, all-out war against Greece. This is the exact war you've heard about, the famous Battle of Thermopylae with the 300 Spartans. That was Xerxes. The prediction and the history, they just click into place perfectly. Okay, section 3, the mighty Greek king. A whole new power is about to rise. Just when you think it's all about Persia, the prophecy does a complete 180. It shifts focus from this line of Persian kings to one single dominant figure, a mighty king who's about to turn the world upside down. And listen to the language here. It's not about a series of kings anymore. It's about a mighty king, one guy, who will rule with great dominion and do according to his will. I mean, that sounds like someone who is completely unstoppable, a real force of nature. So the question just hangs there, doesn't it? Who could this possibly be? Who is this one mighty king who would come along and completely topple the massive Persian Empire? History has to have an answer for this. And it does. The answer, without a shadow of a doubt, is Alexander the Great. Between 334 and 323 BC, he just tore through the Persian Empire in this unbelievable campaign. He absolutely fits the description of a mighty king who ruled with great dominion and did exactly as he pleased. And now, section 4, a kingdom divided. This is about the conqueror's sudden fall. Because the prophecy doesn't just stop with Alexander's victory. No way. It gets even crazier, predicting what would happen right at the very peak of his power. Okay, let's break this verse down because the details are just wild. It says, "When he shall stand up," meaning at the height of his power, "his kingdom shall be broken." Not fade away, but broken. Then it says, "It will not go to his posterity," That's a fancy way of saying his kids won't get it. And finally, his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others, so someone else, not his family, is going to take over. 3 very, very specific claims.
And here's the historical reality. Alexander the Great dies. Suddenly, at just 32 years old. 32! He's at the absolute peak of his power in 323 BC, having conquered pretty much everything, and then he's just gone. Just as the prophecy said, when he shall stand up, his kingdom was instantly broken.
I mean, just look at this side-by-side comparison. It's stunning. The prophecy said his kingdom would be broken and divided. History tells us it was split up among his 4 chief captains. The prophecy said not to his posterity. What happened in real life? His whole family was murdered, so none of his heirs could take the throne. And the prophecy said it would be plucked up even for others. The result? His generals, who were not his family, carved up the empire for themselves. Every single point lines up. And you can see it right here. The prophecy mentioned the kingdom would be divided toward the 4 winds. And that's literally what happened. It fractured into 4 major chunks, ruled by Ptolemy in Egypt, Seleucus in the east, Lysimachus in Thrace, and Cassander in Macedon and Greece. A 4-way split, just like the text hinted at. So when you put it all together, it's not just one lucky guess, is it? It's a whole sequence of predictions. The Persian kings, the rich one, the war, the rise of Alexander, his sudden death, and the very specific way his empire was divided, all laid out in order. And that leaves us with a really big question, a question that people have been wrestling with for ages. How on earth does a text from the 6th century BC describe the next 200 years of history with this kind of accuracy? What does that even mean?